Hello guys, just wanted to present to you another game that I played online on chesscube.com. My opponent was uaeboy and his rating was 1466 and mine was 1501. And I had the black pieces, so here's how the game went. He played d4, I replied d5, and he plays his knight out to c3, which currently I just know is called the Chigorin variation, even though my analysis software calls it the queen's pawn Veresov attack. Not really sure which one it is, but I'll just call it Chigorin variation for now. And normally in the Chigorin variation you should play knight to f6, but I really hadn't played against this before and I didn't know about it, so I just played knight to c6, which isn't that bad really, because if he takes the pawn, well, I can just take it back with the queen. He plays his bishop out to f4 and he's eyeing up the c7 square. And I play my pawn from f7 to f6, and this is preparing an e5 push, because as you may have noticed, he's trying to get a fork on c7 with his knight, which he tried to do in his next move. But now, because I can play e5, well, this plan is taken care of and he can't do that, so he has to do something else now. Well, he takes the pawn and I take back with my knight, offering up some material trade here, but instead he just pushes to g4 and is getting ready to attack my defender of my knight. So I stop his plans by pushing to g5, attacking his bishop, and he plays a mistake here by developing his knight out, and I can take his bishop here for free. Now he moves his knight to d4 and I play my bishop from c8 to d7, and I'm attacking his b5 knight and also taking some squares away from his knight on d4. So he plays his knight back to c3, attacking my undefended my d pawn, and I play my knight to e7 to defend it. Then he plays his rook to g1. I guess he's getting ready to push his pawn and probably attack my f pawn and then my knight on e7. So I just take the pawn and he can't take back because my bishop is defending my knight. So he pushes his h pawn, attacking my knight for the second time, and only now do I move it away. And he plays his queen to d2, attacking my undefended f4 pawn. So I play my dark square bishop to h6 and I'm defending that pawn, and again his plans are ruined for now. But he plays to e3, attacking my pawn for the second time, and I play here f3. And the reason is that now his e-pawn is pinned to his queen and he can't move it. So he places his rook onto g3, attacking my pawn for the second time, because as you may have noticed, the knight on d4 is also attacking it. And I thought about this for a while and just played c6 because I want to get my queen out and my king castled. And here's a weird move. I was expecting him to go along the lines of knight captures pawn, I take back with my knight, and then rook captures, but instead he played rook captures pawn. Now I take back with the knight and he takes back with his knight, and he's just lost the rook. So I play my queen to b6, and this is a multi-purpose move, allows my king to castle. I'm hitting the b2 point and I'm also converging on the point e3 with my bishop and my queen to add to that. So he plays b3 and I can't take on b2 anymore. So I place my rook from h8 to g8, just taking control of this open file. He plays his knight to a4, attacking my queen, move my queen back, and he plays his knight to c5, attacking my light squared bishop. So I move it to f5. Now he plays his queen to b4 and is converging on my b7 point, and I move my b pawn forwards, and this plan is taken care of for now. He attacks my queen, I move my queen back. So he places his pawn onto c4, and the idea is that soon enough he can attack my pawns on d5 and c6. So I place my bishop onto e4, attacking his knight and also defending these two pawns. He places his knight onto d4, attacking my c pawn, and I place my rook from a8 to c8, defending that pawn. he plays his queen to a4, and not only is this attacking the pawn, but it's also pinning it to my king. So I play my dark squared bishop now to g7, and the idea is that if I can push my pawn forwards to f5, then this knight is pinned to his rook. He attacks my queen, and I move my queen to d6, and for some reason, well, he did that weird move. He just moved back after attacking my queen, and that's just wasting time, and it allowed me to bring my queen into d6, where it's defending this c pawn again. Now I push my f pawn, and this knight is pinned to his rook. He places his knight onto b4, attacking this pawn again, and I do a waiting move here, h5, and now he attacks my bishop, my light squared bishop that is currently on e4, and the reason is that now all these escape squares are taken away from my light squared bishop. But here I can just play some in-between moves. I check his king, because the pawn on f3 was before on f2, so if I wanted to check his king, I couldn't do that. He'd just take my queen, but now it's open, so he places his king onto e2, and this allows me to play my queen to h2, checking the king again, and he has to go back to his home rank, and now his king is in kind of a dangerous position here, and only now do I have to take care of this problem with my light squared bishop, and I take care of it by taking his knight, and now his rook is in danger, so of course he takes my dark squared bishop instead of my light squared bishop. Otherwise I'd just get his rook for free again. So now I take his pawn on f3, and as you may have noticed, all these escape squares are taken away from his king, and he plays the final mistake. He takes my a7 pawn, and this allows me to play my rook from g8 to g1, and I'm gonna get a mate in one here because his bishop is pinned to his king by my rook. So now when I play my queen to e2, then it's checkmate, because he can't take back with his bishop because he'd be in check again. So it was a pretty interesting game, I think. Not one of the best, but I just wanted to present this one to you guys again, and I hope you enjoy. Leave a comment and rating. Thanks.